Welcome back to the action live here in Carole, Venice, Italia. My name is Hannah Pendlebury and I am delighted to be joined in the booth by the one, the only Christina Obermeier as we survey in front of us European Ultimate Championship finals action between 3SB of the Czech Republic and Heidelbärchen of Germany. We saw Heidelbärchen coming out on offense but didn't manage to punch it in. Just shy of the end zone, and 3SB starting off their campaign with some defensive line offense, just managing to squeeze out the reset and palming it off. Apologies for the slight delay in bringing you this action. It's a little bit of technical difficulties with opening it up the stream, but we are here in the action now. Big shot going up, but what a play from the defense there, tapping it into the turf.
Carolyn Thyssen with that D, one of the pickups on that Heidelbergen team. She normally plays for Ude Cologne, and due to her national team connection, she is joining the team here.
Well, what a pickup to have. One of the captains of that senior side that lost out, of course, in quarter-finals back a few months ago in Győr, Hungary. Looking for perhaps a bit of a revenge here, hoping to obtain medal in this women's division that's already shown us so much parity. Just finished up at the previous match, which went right down to the wire between Heidelberg, fellow Germans, and Dublin Gravity. So Heidelberg on their way towards the end zone, looking for their first point against the 3SB zone look in front. Oh, is that a push pass?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Crosswind push pass. I'm a big fan of that dicey stuff from the team in white. Good giving and going. Nice movement. Trying to find some flow into the center of the field. Stall count rising. Dish over the top, and unsurprisingly, the high stall situation causes a turnover. Disc back in the palms of 3SB. With their wonderful flamingo shirts. Got lots of flamingo themed swag, which is obviously for millennials fantastic because there's so many blow up flamingo things too. But unfortunately their offense blows up a little bit as they overshoot. A fairly easy, relaxed pass. And now the German side looking ever closer to putting the first point to bed. Can they achieve it? Yes, they can. A nice, easy chest pass this time. None of this lofty, fluttery stuff. Just solid fundamentals to post their first one in the letterbox.
We saw some very patient offense from the German side. They're just popping it over the zone the 3SB team put on them, or just swinging it around and looking for open options. Overall, getting the Ds back and just working the disc in for their first hold. Might have been a bit more shaky than what they have expected, or what they maybe wanted for their first 0 point, but we've seen a shaky start more often than we like. So, it's gonna work out.
So action here in front of us from Pool X, of course, the women's division in an extraordinarily brutal format where you have to finish in the top 2 in your pool to have any chance of picking up a piece of bling here. Those 2 spots will advance straight to semi-finals. These 2 teams have the likes of Iceni, Cusp, Shout and Cosmic Girls, plus the Gentle Ladies of Belgium to contend with. And thus far, Heidelberg looking pretty strong, 2-0 record, in contrast to 3SB, who have had 1 loss thus far. So the players in pink find their reset. Sara Toshnerova with the disc in hand. Fresh off the back sort of an appearance at the Eurostars Tour. Big launch from the backhand, but a little bit too early for the intended target there. He's going to take a moment to just tie up the shoelaces.
Yeah, and she actually waited for that throw to come off. She didn't immediately throw it, but actually did wait for a second, but then was still a little too hasty with that throw.
Well, we are still on Friday, so we wouldn't expect any of the downfield cutters to be stopping due to tired legs, especially only having played the 1 game today for 3SB. Heidelbärchen, of course, 2 successful ones already in the bank, according to my schedule. Find out exactly who those have been against later on from the lovely lady sat next to me. I'm sure, Christina, you have that detail for us. Oh, nice little slice through the middle of the 3SB zone. Finds Anja Folbert, who's looking a little bit lost for options under the pressure. Cheeky air bounce on a flick there. Not often you see those, but Folbert delighting us to that. Now, Breitzman, center of the zone again, looking a little bit lost for options. Sneaks the around break for the force to Oberlander.
Not a lot of movement in the downfield area. And just as I say it, they poke through the cup.
But it's only a poke. They don't quite manage to jailbreak through the front line of the 3SB defense. Just trotting it towards the end zone. Just nibbling up the yards. Slowly but surely, this is nice, patient work from the German side. Firing the fakes. And we see CSB trying to pile on the pressure as the stall count rises. Resets found. Be nice to see them move the disc a little bit more laterally, but these give-goes are the name of the game. Gets a little bit of a piece of it, but I think helps it onwards. Does the defense. Breitzman ever nearing the goal line. You see, nice work from the zone to stop those around passes, to use the lateral space on the field. Giving and going, though, just about squeezing it past the end zone line, and that's the second score and a break for the Heidelbärchen.
We saw Heidelbärchen not getting a lot of movement, but as soon as Breitzman and Schall took over that D-line offense and got every other and working just the two of them with quick give and goes, they were able to open up the zone that the 3SB line threw on them. They did actually, 3SB, work with that zone quite well early on in the tournament. They had, it was a great success for them, and I remember at regionals they did play that same zone and also went on to the final with using their great defense.
It's the thing about playing a zone consistently, though, it's always a risk. I remember learning this lesson in my year of captaincy of my university side. We went to an indoor tournament and we played a rather lethal zone pretty much all day Saturday, and it gave the Saturday evening as an opportunity for then teams to watch some of the footage that they'd taken and figure out exactly where the holes were after a little bit of discussion. So perhaps playing it through the regional qualifiers puts you at a bit of a disadvantage if you hope to use the same strategy, because it just means that teams are ready and prepared for it.
I see that point, and I feel like maybe that happened here, that the Heidelberg seem to not have any problems working through that zone.
Well, also with the level of depth and experience in their roster, as you'd hope to see and also expect to see across all these sides. It's tricky without too much of a wind to cause that much trouble with a zone. But it is fluttering, as you can see from the flags in the background. Just pretty much the ideal level of wind, I think, just to keep things interesting out here on the fields in Carole. And so you see, two Toschnerova sisters, the two captain of the women's senior side back in Jura. We're typically playing on different lines, one Toschnerova on offense, one Toschnerova on defense. Perhaps the slightly smaller squad this time, happy to play together and try and connect with each other and their fellow teammates. Certainly have a strong Instagram presence working out together, the two sisters. Big shot out into space for 3SB though, and that is a beautiful little score. Up goes Teresa Haveltsova. Very nice stuff.
Havlekova there with a great reception, going up to the line, seeing the open space, and I loved that look from 3SB on offense. The first point we saw, it was a little stifled. They didn't really know what to do, kind of, and gave Heidelbärchen a quick turn. But this time, they seemed to exactly know where to go and where they wanted the disc, and seemed to work through the zone Heidelbärchen put on rather easily. You can see that great put into space once more for the goal.
And yes, indeed, Havelkova with the score. Nice, wonderful separation from the defender upline. And sneakily, I sort of thought I was getting the hang of these Eastern European, Czech Republic names, Christina, and I'll be honest, it's tricky for my little mind to wrap itself around.
Yeah, I agree, but you know, at under 20s I had a lot of practice because the Czech women were so good that they were streamed so often, and I was able to cover every single one of their games, I think. And so I kind of got the hang of it.
What a delight. And there do seem to be some very young, fresh faces on the 3SB side in these dashing pink jerseys. And some very high-waisted shorts.
I think that's one of the signs a person's young, right? Isn't that kind of a rule?
Oh, what a bid there. What a huge attempt. But yeah, a little bit of friendly fire, actually. Yes, you're right. But Mona Shuck there, getting up big. She's clearly a jazzy individual, if not from the hair colour alone, but an immediate shot deep into the space for 3SB means we are back on serve, Ultimate fans, 2 apiece.
That was a daring shot, the hammer over the zone against the wind, and Shuck did everything she could to reel that in, but was just colliding with her teammate instead. Shuck actually played for the German national team on the women's side this year, which was a very, very deep roster. I feel like a single one of those players could have been a standout player on another team.
Oh, heck yes. And it was really interesting to see that absolutely powerhouse team be bested in quarterfinals. If you haven't watched that game yet, the quarterfinal matchup between Italy and Germany from the European Ultimate Championships in Dieu is an absolute stunner. Well worth the fancy subscription alone in order to get your eyes on that peach of a game. I might be biased because I did commentate it, but it's nothing to do with me wanting to flaunt my my commentary skills. It's just purely such a nail-biter of a game.
I agree totally. That was one of the most exciting games I've seen for a long time, and now we see what a German club can do. Indeed. In terms of offense once more.
And talking about players that were on that side, the individual with the disc, the tall 64 Sabine Manhertz, also a German national representative. So a talented side, the Heidelbärchen, already a couple wins to their name in pool play, and that is what you have to do here in this brutal, brutal format. So a zone once more from 3SB, trying to make the team in white throw lots of passes in this, well, slight crosswind, more diagonal coming from right to left, far side to near side for your screens. Moving around the back calmly and patiently. Manhertz finds a teammate on the far side. Can't quite capitalize on the jailbreak. Back to the back set. Good exposure now though. Looking a little lost for options is Tisson. Eventually they move it round to the far side, where we see Steph Rapazzo in front of us, hand feeding our cameraman Milan. Blocking our field view briefly.
Interesting how 3SB still stays in that zone, even just in front of their end zone.
Well, it's not a terrible idea to commit to it hard, because it is slowing down the offense of Heidelberg, and there we see a bit of just lack of composure from Moore. Disc just fails to be caught, going in with one hand rather than two for what I think was probably a little bit of a stretch, but a relatively easy catch, giving the disc back to 3SB. After working so hard to go 2-0 up, they find themselves level and giving the disc to the opposition.
And also after working up all the way to your end zone and then just a little bit of maybe too early celebration or not enough patience. And
that's why you stick with the zone, Christina. You were confused as to why they did it, but that is a hospital pass that I think Pavlova tried to have a little look at it.
A lot of players underneath it, but nobody getting the hand on the disc there. Ooh, very close.
Manhertz just patiently waiting. but the disc is caught by the wind, tips out of the fingers. I think that's Oberlander trying to put her palms around it. Oh, and that's a really nice play. Furious stuff up this near sideline from 3SB. Looking at the inside channel, committing eventually to the around. Good marking up from Heidelbärchen to shut that down initially. But the negative yardage, happy to be taken. Oh, look at that high release. It's going to sail far too far. Manhertz just grazes the fingertips on it, uses the stature, and her momentum prevents the offensive player from being able to make any play on it, just shutting the door with her speed.
And that was the exact throw, the exact same throw that we saw turnover on Heidelberg's side happen, the high release backhand. Maybe not take that option when it's that windy.
Depends where you are on the field. A high release backhand can be really good in high wind if you know you've got it directly behind you and you need to throw directly in front of you. It's just when you've got those angles that's so hard to control. Those high releases just allowing the wind to scoop up under the frisbee and take it somewhere other than where you intended. But eventually Heidelbärchen convert nicely and hold their offense, keeping us on serve here, 3-2.
And this time she managed to get it with two hands and easy collect it in the middle, and the 3SB zone a bit unstructured after the quick turnover.
Yeah, not been a particularly clean game thus far. Both sides giving the disc to each other, just feeling each other out, finding the rhythm.
Yeah, exactly. And as we said before, Heidelberg came out with 2 wins. They had one very intense game against the Gentle Ladies that I managed to catch the last few points on, and I believe it was 13-10 for the Gentle Ladies, and Heidelberg managed to win that game. So there was some great stuff there on the Heidelberg side. In the end, they just got their focus and really worked on every single mistake the Gentle Ladies made, or pushed the Gentle Ladies to make some mistakes as well. So I think they can still turn it up a notch. Like, I have trust that the Heidelberg can get those breaks if they're needed.
Well, perhaps one of the bigger household name teams on the European circuit, the Heidelbärchen, but clearly capable. They've had two pretty close games. In fact, they also bested Shout this morning. First game of the day, 15-13, which will see them sitting fairly pretty, having taken 2 very large names down. Can they do the same 3-3 though?
Well, for now, it looks rather evenly matched, but that's, you know, you can't say too much from only having 6 points played in a game. The games are 90 minutes long, I believe. So, you know, a lot can happen in 1.5 hours.
Oh, yes, indeed. And of course, if we do see the Heidelbärchen falling foul of 3SB, then it could make some interesting three-way tie type situations within the pool, and not unexpected would those be. Such parity in this women's division, talent across Europe coming to fight for some shiny medals here in Carole. But patience against lots of poachy zony style licks, and Heidelbärchen perhaps choosing those to try and save their legs. It's a bit of a brutal start to the tournament to have 3 games loaded on the Friday.
Yeah, but then again, you went with only 1 game on Sunday. Might be better to have 3 games Friday, 3 games Saturday, and then, you know, closing out with only 1 game. I'm happy about the 3 games, and the other thing would be having 4 games Saturday, which, you know, wouldn't work out either. I guess
I've done that many times back in the domestic season back home in the UK. It's not the most fun, although fun fact for you, European rules, you're not allowed to have any back-to-back matchups. There always has to be a break at this championship level. So we see a big disc going up high, looking for a score for the 3SB women, but not to be, well defended by Heidelbärchen, which I believe is a fusion of Karlsruhe and Heidelberg.
Yeah, the Heidis and the Gummibärchen coming together. Like both these mixed squads coming together to play on the women's side.
Well, just going to show what these women can do in a slightly different division. Not saying that either is better, just different. Bringing out the different skill sets and abilities to the fore. Nice arcing swing pass. Beautiful little find. I think that's Charles over there on the far side. Difficult to read the numbers on the backs of the Heidelbärchen as they throw into the chest of the 3SB player. Oh, and what a little quick near conversion just on the goal line. Almost perfect way to respond to the defense, or the error, sorry, of your opposition. Oh, a nice punch it in, just manages to reach the claws around it, tumbling to the floor for the score, and it just gets there for 3SB. Nice work.
What a great put into space right after the defense, losing no time and getting the disc away from the clogged space where a lot of defenders are. And we saw 3SB have a little bit of trouble with those resets. There's a lot of movement, whereas right in front of the end zone, you should maybe, or 3SB should maybe try and be a little just calmer with cuts and isolating one player after the other to try and get the goal in or get a reset off. But if too many people are running around, everything's confusing.
Well, perhaps it's, but they clearly have the ability to put the disc into those spaces. I mean, the scoring throw there really put out right at the fingertip reach of only the offensive player, who didn't really have much of a margin over the defensive opponent. But I just really loved the way that off the error where the Heidelbärchen basically just threw into the chest of the zone, just immediately gunning for the end zone, using that speed and athleticism. And another error there, Manhertz throwing basically into the ground. So you don't need your frisbee, man. And 3SB with a golden opportunity to take another break. They're in charge, in the lead. Nice scooping pickup from Schwarzova.
Schwarzova just throwing out of bounds immediately, but they isolated one cutter, and it was much more space for this one cut to the one cutter to get open.
Do you think they heard you, Christina? Do you think they're stealing your tactics?
Yeah, I think so. But I'm fine with it. That's why I'm here, just giving them their ideas, I guess.
Just Coach Obermeyer, commentating, coaching, doing it all.
Maybe Sarah and I have a bit of a connection since she's playing for my club now, and she actually knows what I want to do.
Like yes, indeed.
What I want her to do, basically.
Sara Toshnedova of the Czech Republic, coming and playing in Vienna, studying at the university, I believe.
Exactly, she's doing her master's by PhD, I'm not sure.
Masters.
Master's, exactly, at the Technical University of Vienna. And so she decided to play with us, which was a great addition to our squad.
Which is what I love about Ultimate players. So many smarts on the field, but also smarts off the field. Doctors, lawyers, engineers. In fact, actually, lawyer is what the other Toshnedova sister does. The elder sister, Sarah, 30 years old. Would you believe it? Still looks about 17. And a commentator herself, so a dear friend of ours here in the booth. So, Heidelbärchen disc back in hand. Just trying to hold on and execute things properly. Going to be redeemed on the far side by Manhertz. Nice pop forward. Working smoothly. Silky right now. Achtenbrenner. Oh, and that's, I tell you what, that was so fast. I had a little look down at my roster sheet and back up. Oh my goodness, that's a loud automobile has just streamed past the fields to emulate how fast Heidelbärchen's offense was to just swing the disc across and punch it into the end zone.
I really loved the offensive movement there from the Heidelbärchen side, swinging it to the completely other side of the pitch and then just back into the end zone right away, just gaining a few yards every shot and using that the zone is moving with them, and then just quick breaks and using those holes that the zone creates. And you can see that yard opening shot into the end zone. Quick pop there. So this Heidelberg team is actually the silver medalist of the German women's national. So only falling to Mainzelmädchen, I believe, in the final, who did qualify for this event here too. And if I'm not wrong, 3SB is the current reigning champion in the Czech Republic. So pretty much two high-level teams in their community.
Well, that's exactly what you want. Certainly 3SB coming strong through their qualifying region. As we see Rachel Toshnerova popping out in front of her sister Sarah. And they are absolutely churning up yards here. Shot goes in just shy once again. 3SB are very good at throwing just shy of the goal line here. Going to have to expand their offense and play with those resets. Little tumble that manages to keep the disc alive. And I hear that sideline yelling the word around, because that is what 3SB are trying to attack. But punching it in, a cheeky little inside shot there for the number 25, Ceske Zikasova.
Yeah, I believe that's how you pronounce the name. Zikasova.
Zikasova. I will learn, we will learn.
We will. I'm trying our best.
And I say this, you're doing a fantastic job, Christina. I'm still learning, I'm still learning.
I really love watching that 3SB side. They're so quick with their movement and always getting off a quick break and also working it through all of their players. I feel like they're a very complete squad, and this is why they also did not take on any pickups after their regional qualifiers, because they don't need to. That's what Rachel said to us earlier.
Have either team picked up any players since the regional qualifiers, or are they two true teams, as the purists might say, purebloods?
So I know that some of the Heidelbärchen pickups have played with them all season. For example,
well, then they're not pickups if they've played all season, are they?
Well,
truly,
not truly, in a sense of them playing the international events with one team and all the national stuff in Germany with another team. So they might. Can we say semi-pickups? Because
no. I think if you play the domestic events with one team but international elsewhere, that's totally fine. It's a case of a pickup is someone who's not gone to your training sessions or not come to a numerous tournament appearances. It's about getting those reps. That's the difference. A pickup could be someone from anywhere, could be any location, any person, but as long as they've committed themselves to a standard of whatever is reasonable for the amount of tournaments you're playing. Because we've got some, what we'd say is probably true pickups here, is those who perhaps, either were only there for the qualifying event or maybe even not even there for that. Which is nothing wrong. It's completely legal within the rules, and for some teams I think probably a really good thing and will help them make the best of the development opportunity at this level. But
spicy inside shot there. And
oh my goodness, oh my days, that's going to be reeled in, but what a crazy throw that was. Dished just swirling over the end zone.
That was a very daring shot, but well executed and did work out just like that. The young player there.
That is a very fun way to bring it to fives. Heidelbärchen using all of their throwing abilities.
Yeah, the young German player there, one of the leaders of the German under-20 women's squad. You see that?
Oh, and it's Tisson there. Tisson with not the number 56 on our roster, Carole Tisson.
It's not Tisson. I think they played a little bit of mix and match with the jerseys.
Oh, that's naughty. That's made me feel very sad.
Yeah. Carole Tisson is spotting the 48 shirt, I believe. And we don't even have a 48 shirt on the roster, so it's a little bit crazy right there.
The thing that put me off is the fact that the number 56 is also wearing one of the German national team caps. But I should know better from this distance. I should be able to figure it out. But apologies for the misnaming. Either way, it's a spicy, spicy throw, and I like it. So 3SB now responding against the zone of the Heidelbärchen. Toshnerova with a cheeky offhand fake. Perhaps one of those players who are fully ambidextrous can go both ways in terms of throwing. Nice movement across, patient stuff. Again, sitting with that left hand full of disc. Nice work, really patient stuff, just quietly moving upfield. Oh, a bit of a bump there on the mark from the force of the zone. Just connecting so smoothly. Surely must be a goal soon. And there we do see a little jump from Teresa Budejovice. And a score for 3SB. They continue to trade here, but they're trading up with 2 breaks to their name versus Heidelbergen's just solitary 1. Having given so much in the previous 2 games that they've faced in this pool play. Perhaps they haven't reserved enough to fight against the Czech side.
And we see them switching their defensive strategies up again with another zone look. I think that's maybe the 3rd zone look we've seen from the Heidelbärchen. And this time opting for a bit of an arrowhead, so clogging the middle because they've seen how much 3SB likes to throw some spicy stuff through the middle and then leaving these sides open. But no way to stop them.
So a meat grinder of a game in front of us. Heidelberg of Germany versus 3SB of the Czech Republic. As I get a little sideways glance from one of the Heidelbergen players. But we're being joined silently on this live stream by Livka Volchak, who's come to watch some of her fellow countrywomen and some friends.
And some Eurostars teammates, maybe?
Yes, exactly. As I say, some friends from the Czech Republic. Of course, Volchak was there at the Eurostars tour alongside Sara Toshnerova, the younger of the 2 Toshnerova sisters, who we've already mentioned, has relocated herself to Vienna, but a missed clap catch from the Germans is going to give an opportunity for 3SB with but a 1/3 of the field to advance. Goes for the open side, slides to the ground, goes the defender, but 2 passes just out of grasp for the players in white, and that is another point posted on the board. A 3rd break for 3SB, and they take it with 1 of half.
I love their composure now on their D-line offense. They're doing a great job at just leaving space for their cutters, and also that, how do you call that? Getting a quick score in. Just the name.
Just a fast turn.
Yeah,
fast turn.
Fast break. That's exactly what I had in my mind. A fast break. They're using that very well, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. That is, they get the turnover and off they go to the races. It's perhaps not the smoothest, cleanest, shiniest offense I've ever seen, but it's really getting past the Heidelbergen, who are making quite a few unforced errors. Perhaps not quite the team we saw earlier on today. Sneaking 2 wins past CUSB Shout first thing, and then Gentle Ladies. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see some 3-way ties in these 2 groups of 6, 12-team strong division.
I agree, and the only difference I can see right now is Heidelberg having some unfortunate drops or unfortunate mistakes, and 3SB just like this one.
Although I would say, I'd be interested to know from the players' perspective whether perhaps they think that some of the 3SB Cup are a little bit closer than the allotted space without any other offensive players in the area, i.e. perhaps a little bit of double teaming from the 3SB zone, which is what is giving the Heidelbergen such a struggle in getting those passes out in high stall situations.
I agree. But overall, the 3SB side is just connecting on every one of those opportunities.
Yeah, they're having one of those games where it's just always starting to come off quite magically, as they all are stood in front of us here in the booth, so we're struggling to see the field a little bit. 3SB moving it smoothly to the far side, exposing the break side, but just bounces out. No one able to capitalize on that pass into scoring territory.
And another zone look, or the same zone probably, but another defensive opportunity for the 3SB side here.
So Heidelbärchen now an opportunity after getting the defensive fingertip on that disc that was trying to hit the player deep in the end zone. Back in charge and in control against the Czech zone.
It's a very interesting setup the Heidelbärchen have there. About 5 people around the disc and around the first row of the cup, and then behind that there's only 2 more receivers struggling with 3 defensive players.
Yeah, really trying to overload the hand of space, probably because they're having struggles in terms of getting around these forces. So if they can create a sort of web of players, all different angles, it makes it more difficult for the force to get at all of them. But a bit of low-key lack of attention footwork here as the number 10 for the Heidelbärchen, whose numbers don't really seem to match our roster sheet.
That's Charlotte Schall, I believe.
Oh, there we go. Just not able to put the foot in bounds. Too much of it on the blades of grass, coated in the white, and it's going to be, oh no, quite a conversion for 3SB. A little bit too much wind underneath the wings of the disc. And back in the hands of the Germans.
And the Sam Heidelbärchen very quick to set up and get the disc moving.
This is more like it, perhaps taking a leaf out of the book of the Czech players. But 3SB are doing a wonderful job of pinning them at the moment into these small spaces. No one really in the deep space. Be interesting to see if perhaps they can take on some of these long shots, maybe throw over the top. The forces aren't especially tall on this zone. Maybe if they can just go for some high releases. They've got the wind sort of at their right back shoulders, I would suppose.
The only
Nice
one
cheeky toss.
The only one standing really tall is Hannah Pendlebury right here, clinging herself to the tent we're staying under.
I'm trying to get a view. We don't have any of our commentary towers as we're accustomed to, so getting a field view is a bit tricky. Almost like Heidelberg are finding this 3SB zone a little bit challenging, but they're now seeming to make mincemeat of it. Churning up yards. Now looking a little bit less patient. Nice distribution across the field, using the width well. Oh, and there we go. The swing opens up the space, and an easy trot in for Heidelbärchen.
Took them a rather long time to figure out that zone and get through it, but as soon as that one shot into space went down and was connecting, the rest just kind of got together, and Heidelbärchen managed to get a point on the board after 3SB had 2 opportunities to close out the first half. So I believe we just heard the halftime jingle, which is, I think, gonna make it game to 8 in any way.
Oh yes, no, so we have a timed halftime in these games. So when you get
So normally after 45 minutes?
Yes, at 45 minutes you have the time some timed half. This is the information we're being given anyway. There seems to be some confusion behind us, but that's what we've been fed. 7-6 either way. 8 is the key number in terms of your halfway point for scoring, but of course the overall points cap is 15, and that is what the race is to currently, unless we can squeak out another 50 minutes of this fairly toe-to-toe action. 3SB, of course, up 2 breaks over the thus undefeated Heidelbärchen.
Heidelbärchen coming out with some matchup defense.
Finally, we see person coverage after a long battle of zone. And we did have some information about the player wearing the number 56 jersey. Name check coming up with you from Christina very soon. Wonder if she might do something pretty awesome and cool, but at the moment it's 3SB who look pretty cool and calm and composed, just firing it. A nice forehand cannon over the top of the defender into the end zone.
So this is half for the 3SB side. They did a great work there, just very composed, and they found their rhythm a bit earlier than the Heidelbergen side, and that was visible during that first half, especially when it comes to offense, in my opinion.
So that was a nice scoring pass, just enough roll to put it over the head of the defender. Got another look at that one. And so we were misfed our information earlier. It wasn't the timed half-time. We were indeed correct on our time clock. We have half-time now, but just stretches over the palm of the number 57 shirt, which is not, it's Malwin Luder. But we're going to take a brief break for the half-time, rehydrate as the players on the field do themselves. 3SB leading the charge here, 8-6. Stay tuned for the second half very soon.
I'm already cool, feed my ego till it's full. Ay, y'all hysterical, you don't wanna see the truth. Ay, I'm already cool, feed my ego till it's full. Ay, y'all hysterical, you don't wanna see the truth. Ay, I'm already cool, feed my ego till it's full. Ay, y'all hysterical, you don't wanna see the truth. Ay, I'm already cool, feed my ego till it's full. Ay, y'all hysterical. No, not radical. I'm that dude for Raji though. Ay, whipping crazy, bro. Trying to jump right out of schools, man. Almost finished though. Only got a few to go. Please just let my brain flow. Hope that paper worth it, never know. Guess it kinda blows. Getting quarters, that's my dough. Trying to make it through the cut for bookings, late night for a show. 25 just for a favor, need to fix my studio. If you're flexing in these streets, some ladies turn to studios. Raj, you know the kid is about to take you home. Hey, I'm already cool. Feed my ego till it's full. Hey, y'all hysterical. You don't wanna see the truth. Hey, I'm already cool. Feed my ego till it's full. Hey, y'all hysterical. You don't wanna see the truth. Hey, I'm already cool. Feed my ego till it's full. Hey, y'all hysterical. You don't wanna see the truth. Hey, I'm already cool. Feed my ego till it's full. Hey, y'all hysterical. You don't wanna see the truth.
8-6 over the Heidelbärchen of Germany, the Eppelheim region, and also the Karlsruhe. So Heidelberg and Karlsruhe coming together, the Gummibärchen
And the Heidies.
indeed. So 3SB coming out on offense, hoping to extend their lead by that one more point. to make it 3. Nice work down the far sideline. Big launch from Toshnedova to her younger sister. Reaching grab. Makes it look easy. And that is beautiful offense from 3SB to get the second half underway. Heidelberg trying to muster up a bit more energy. Their opponents have only played 1 game thus far today, whereas they've already managed 2 wins over the likes of Gentle Ladies and not 3SB, because shout this morning. Yep. But in terms of the Heidelberg, they've had a bit of an interesting journey to this tournament. Tell us more, Christina.
So there was a bit of a trouble right there, and
well, from what I gather from their team information they've given us, they appeared at the Central region, qualified for that event by virtue of another team dropping out. We don't know who it was.
No, because they were 3rd in the Central region, so probably the Central region did have 2 spots and was.
Well, we have Mr. Ultifax himself, Ravi Vasudevan. So
right here.
It's the question, Ravi, is so Heidelberg put on their information for us that they did not qualify for the European Central region. They got a spot at that tournament because somebody else dropped out.
That might be true. Somebody from a German team didn't yet. Well, they qualified here cleanly. I don't know about how they qualified.
Oh, mystery facts.
So
well,
maybe it's sectionals before regionals, and from their section someone dropped out.
We briefly discussed this before we told you this tantalizing information that we clearly need to do a little bit more fact research on. But before the tournament is through, I'm sure we'll probably see Heidelberg again, because they have been doing well thus far. So we'll bring you more information on exactly who it was that gave up their spot and allowed Heidelberg to cleanly qualify through the Central region, which they did indeed do. They deserve to be here. They earned their spot, make no mistake. And they are putting on a nice show of offense here. Good, calm, flat, patient discs. Wind is a little less ferocious than it has been in the mid-sections. Good flow and movement. Hitting all the right spaces. Oberlander hops across to Breitzman. Oh, and a nice little shot. Casual grab for the player wearing the Canadian shirts. Shorts even. A little bit of a low one, but scooped up off the floor. Well, I say off the floor, it's definitely above it because it is a valid score. Bring it back within 2 of the Czech side. Do the Heidelberg.
Yeah, I love their offensive flow now. They found the holds rather easily and just worked it all the way up the field without taking any risky shots, just calmly working it through and taking all the right things.
That is step 1 here, Christina, because the Heidelberg find themselves 2 breaks down. Because 3SB have snagged 3 breaks, and they've managed to do that off the back of a strong start from the German side, who went 2-0 up. And then we've just seen, four breaks from the 3SB side.
3SB definitely had a run and definitely found their way into the game.
They've not really had a run. Looking at the stats here, Christina, it's all been about sort of just a couple of sneaky breaks, really. And then, so two in a row for Heidelberg start us off, then 2 in a row for 3SB, then a hold apiece, and then another break. So basically, it's been for every 1 point the Heidelberg have put in since the 2 that they started with, 3SB have responded twice. And that has been the key. They're just finding a nice little rhythm here. And those fast breaks is really what's been giving them that momentum. So 3SB punching it towards the front cone on the far side. Nice work. Casual releases. But just a little bit of execution error on the goal line is going to give the dispatch to the Heidelberg.
And I just thought how quick both of their offenses are right now. And then 3SB with an unfortunate mistake, giving the disc right back to the Heidelbärchen.
So we see once again the zone applied to try and stifle the offense of Heidelberg. This is what they have been doing. They've managed to put themselves back together, but there we go. As soon as I say it, behind the camera in front of me, the momentum changes and it goes back into the favour of 3SB, who look to be very ready to play their offense. Huge fakes from the number 25. Let's get Zikasova. But an overthrow once more.
Just a bit too far. Maybe getting caught by the wind a little bit there and just floats out of the sideline there on the break space. And just as clean as those first 2 points in second half were, it's as dirtier the ones now as it was a reset. The Czech side gets it back, but immediately turns it over.
Yeah, this is turning into a bit of a messy point here, Christina.
Just a bit, I don't know. I feel like a lot of a messy point.
I suppose we're now solidly mid-afternoon. It is 4:10 local time here in Italy. And this is where you've had your lunch, but maybe it feels like a long time since lunchtime. Perhaps both sides need a little bit of a Gummibärchen to consume, a little bit of an injection of sugar. Although, saying that, we now are seeing some smart choices being taken by the Germans, puncturing through the 3SB zone.
Maybe they've had their fair share of Heidelbärchen magic. Gummibärchen magic, rather.
Perhaps they have some sneaky packets somewhere on the sideline. I feel like I could do with some of them. We've eaten some pasta out here to try and give us some energy. It's you know, it's because it's really a hard life, Christina, sitting in a booth talking about one of the best sports in the world.
It's a horrible thing. Seriously, I don't know why I do that for free.
Bit of contact perhaps as we see Manhats and Tosnerova discussing in the centre of the field. And everyone chatting on the sidelines, as you tend to do. For the non-ultimate players, if you've stumbled across this wonderful YouTube fancy hybrid stream, then A, welcome to you, and B, you might not know, Ultimate Frisbee is a self-refereed sport. So at the moment, the stoppage that you're seeing in front of you is just as the players on the field have a brief and hopefully rapid discussion to try and find a neutral point after the infraction occurred. So the disc is going to go back. I think that's Sabine Manhertz with the disc. The number 64. Nice shot to the near sideline. Punctures through to Gordillo. We mentioned the fact that Anya Folbert played at Windmill with the Venezuelan team Triple Mamacitas. Carolina also was present at that tournament for the same team, so the two German-located players.
Interesting fun fact there. So we can see the mark.
And you'll notice actually on the calves of the Heidelbergen women, they have little tattoos on some of them, not every single one, but on the calf muscles, just at the top, below the knee joint. If you manage to catch any, then they have little GUM, gum tattoos. So what that means is the girls' ultimate movement. So wonderful to see that project being supported here on the European scene. I'm not aware of any gum events this side of the pond, something typically in the US. So we see some replay action from this marathon point that must be getting very tiring right now.
We can see some players going to our camera crew there, Milan, showing them
Well, let's get a nice slow-mo replay here. Oh, that is close. That is very close, but it's whether she let go of possession before the disc was knocked out by the arm.
It's very hard to say, actually. I love how they're using that replay here.
Well, it's formally written in the rules these days. Oh, that's close. I wouldn't want to be the one making the VAR decision as to whether that was a strip or not. But I feel like it's fair to be contested by the player, Eliška Zigetsova.
Yeah, sometimes it's just the best choice to send it back, and sometimes you just have to accept two different opinions.
But yeah, it's really interesting to see how close the 3SB Cup is willing to get to basically physically sandwich the player with the disc. Certainly very tight indeed. But that's what you have to do as a defender, be ferocious, put yourself in an opportunity to prevent the opposition from scoring. Oh, and that is such a great recatch. What composure from Wagner. Just shy of the goal line. Misses it once, but catches it on the second attempt. Manhertz dishing backwards. Straight back. Gordillo. Oh, a nice high pass. Toshinerova trying to predatorially come through like Jaws to try and snaffle up the disc, but nice lateral movement. Can they unlock another point in this game and bring it within one? Gordillo, oh, and there we do finally see the lateral swinging paying off. Sophie Flammer on the far corner. And that is patient stuff from the women of Heidelbärchen, bringing us within one of 3SB, 9-8.
And again, I have to just love watching them move horizontally. They don't force anything, but they're just happy to use the zone they're playing to open up the whole field on the other side. So, a very veteran move there from the Heidelberg side. Very good tactical adjustments to their zone that you can see if there's 4 players around or 3 even around the disc, there has to be a huge amount of space somewhere else where these 3 players are missing and you can isolate someone else. And that's what they're doing in a great manner, in my opinion.
So 9-8 the score here. The Czech team in front over the Heidelbärchen of Germany. Both teams know how important every single point is, every single win.
In this women's division, probably every single point is important.
Well, it's not just the women's division. Both the mixed and women's sides have 12 team formats, 2 pools of 6. So if you drop a single game, you can put yourself out of contention quite easily. And you never want to leave yourself in any format with your fate sealed by another team's record. You always want to have control so you can leave the tournament no matter where you finish, knowing that you put everything you could into it. And that was a nice idea, but nearly triple coverage on the intended target for that huck by 3SB, having executed them quite well in the early stages of the game. Perhaps a little bit too hasty. So Heidelbärchen perhaps able to put it back together here. Nice undercuts. Perhaps a wee bit static on their offense, not the most flowing high stall situation. Going for the upline cut, but overshoots it by a couple inches.
Have a very hasty situation there. You can hear the stall count getting high and just want to get off that disc. Sometimes it doesn't come off the way you want it to.
The fullback there going for the cheeky foot block, but gets a hand block instead. Nice work from Anja Fulbert to get the disc back, and that's the kind of play you've got to make in these situations. Get your team fired up with a piece of jazzy denial defense.
That's a great block.
I love how casual she is afterwards. Just walks away. Like, cool guys don't look at explosions. But
Redemption
that explodes out of the hand of the defender. And as you say, Christina, redemption immediately. So, Heidelberg with the disc in not the most golden opportunity. Centres a little bit. And Toshnedova opens up the hammer over the top. Not quite enough for the score. Talking about jazzy defense, that's some jazzy offense. Love a good overhead, especially from a Pink Flamingo shirt. Oh, and double hammers for 3SB. This time it just manages to cross the threshold and into the hands of Teresa Haveltsova.
And the same receiver on both of these hammer shots, very daring, but probably she is that person that always looks for the hammer on such a red zone opportunity, and great stuff there. Love a hammer now and then, 2 in a row or even better. Yeah,
so that point had it all, Christina, in terms of our highlight reel. It had a lovely, tasty hand block from fullback of the Heidelbärchen, but then it also had 2 hammers from the women of 3SB. One for just shy of the goal line. I think the first hammer was a little bit smoother. The second one did wobble around a little bit. Thought, heart maybe jumping into throat to perhaps a little pinch if you're a Czech fan.
Yeah, but also with that gusty wind.
And I have to say, we have a cheeky sideline presence in the form of a gentleman who can throw pretty much anything he wants in the wind, whispering into the ears of the 3SB players. John Doherty from the Irish Federation.
Tell us more about that.
What's
the connection?
I'm not going to mention anything about why he might be whispering into the ears.
Did they get a new coach, I guess, the 3SB side?
I think a free coach. I think he's got some other ideas as to why he's hanging out on the 3SB sideline, but that is a lovely piece of offense for the Heidelbärchen, and they bring it back within 1 of 3SB. They are chasing, chomping at their heels, gnashing keenly as we reach the business end of this game.
We saw Emma Phillips there with an amazing grab. I thought it was out of her hands, but she just put her fingers on the disc and wouldn't get it out there again.
And we're bringing out all the wildlife today. We had some flying ants who hung around midday watching the ultimate action here. And we've just been joined in the booth by a little very, very hairy spider who's currently sat on the keyboard of my laptop as we watch the bit of discussion.
So I can imagine there's a timeout being called on the field.
Yes, indeed there is, giving us a chance to get some eyes on the highlight reel. Nice grab indeed.
Grab right here.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. And not even a conservation of greatness, just immediately looks to the end zone and punches it in. As my spidery friend comes ever closer to being on my lap. I don't mind spiders, Christina, but he's jumping. Oh, that's cute.
I think he just wants to get away, honestly.
Yeah, no, I don't blame him.
I don't mind spiders, but I don't particularly like them. They're not my favorite kind of animal.
I'm imagining lots of people who might be listening to this live stream who absolutely abhor the idea of being sat next to spiders, but I quite like them. I'm not a huge fan of flies, you see.
Yeah, I get that, but then again, flies don't do anything.
Oh no, flies are just annoying, and I think true house flies. Okay, here's a completely random fact for you, ultimate fans. True houseflies, I believe they actually spew up a bit of what I would refer to as vomit, but it is not quite vomit, on every single surface they land on. Fun facts for Christina as she's just getting some very late lunch here, local time, about 4:20 in the afternoon. It's starting to get a little bit chilly. Of course, it's no longer summer. This is the post-season, as it's known.
Yeah,
Combination of all the hard work over the season.
Yeah, it's the post-season, and also it's the end of the season for Carole and Italy in general. So it's the last weekend where you can still get service anywhere, which is a perfect opportunity for us to hold this event here. And near the beach.
Yes, indeed. The seasonal workers will be heading home. Although, fun fact for you, the Venice proper season for tourists doesn't finish until November. And then you can get your discount rates, of course, until Christmas. Not a very big low season here in the tourist hotspot that is.
Well, who wants to be a tourist when it's 35 degrees Celsius around there? Like, I don't like that.
Well, you're near the water. But at the moment, it is looking fairly stoic out on the field. See if perhaps either side can inject a little bit of fire to get us hot, hot, hot in this game. Nice flowing work from 3SB. Heidelbärchen playing some match defense, going back to the fundamentals, seeing if they can grind a point back off 3SB. This is the thing, we're getting towards the business end. They cannot just wait and see if they can trick 3SB into making errors. They have to go out and take the disc from them. Toshnerova, the younger, is going to distribute into the end zone, but it's going to be scooped up like a ball of ice cream by the defense coming in and making a lovely read.
We saw how that exact pass worked so many times before in the first half, but now in the second half, I feel like not a single one of them worked out the way 3SB wanted it, as we see a hand block, but immediately a foul is called and the disc will go back to Thyssen.
You saw the defender there immediately making the hand signal of yep, I found you. There's no contesting here. It's just a brief apology discussion of course I didn't mean to touch you. Please have the frisbee back. So Mark going for a cheeky foot block, but not to be. Heidelbärchen all cutting under, not really expanding themselves out into the deep space, even though they have the wind behind them. So maybe starting to run a little bit low on energy. That is a nice grab on the far side from Carolina Gordillo. And now, thinking about those flicks to the open side. Oh, and coming, streaming through Gordillo again, but chased down hotly by the defender who manages to just get the shoulder in front. What a battle towards the disc that was.
So many people were cutting into the same space there on the Heidelberg side. It's really hard to get a good throw.
Oh, and there we see a bit of contact between Toshnerova and I think Schultz. So many of the players putting those feet in the air, trying to get foot blocks.
A lot of contact.
Yeah. Going for the around cuddle block. The lesser seen, but highly celebrated.
Everybody loves a good cuddle.
Well, not everyone. There are some members of the ultimate community that don't even like hugs. Well, I say don't even like hugs. It's totally fine to not like hugs. But I have a good friend who just prefers high fives. Always good to ask people before you hug them as to their preferred level of physical contact, because it's nothing worse than giving someone a hug that you mean well intended and it not be well received. Life lessons from the booth. Big disc going up into the end zone and a posterizing grab for Sara Toshnerova, who immediately gets a cramp. But you can see how flexible she is. Former gymnast is Toshnerova.
She did a great work there with that high grab in between the two Heidelberg players, and just keeps the disc in her hand as she goes to ground.
You could see she actually transferred it so she could put her preferred one out. Well, I say she's calling an injury. I think she's just putting her hands behind her head. The feisty little athlete that Sara Toshnerova is.
But what a great catch. Didn't even talk about that, but look at that put into space. Oh, not yet, maybe. This one.
Cameraman,
look at her.
Maybe perhaps not realizing which way they're going.
Both of them and keeping her hand on it.
So acrobatic stuff from the younger Toshnerova sister. Gives a cheeky little wink there. Just sauntering off field and giving us a little ticket to the gun show. I like how much fun the 3SB roster is having. They're all here on the sideline, just off of your screen, just having a little bit of chat, you know, taking on some sugar, being chill.
With that jersey color. And with that flamingo theme, you can't not have fun. You know, it's just so bright and happy. Just makes me want to be happy too.
Yeah, and I really like the contrast of the colours. Shout out to whoever designed the flamingo shirts. It's really easy to read the numbers, despite the fact that the font is quite thin, quite in contrast to the shirts of the Heidelbärchen.
I actually do have a backstory behind that, because first when 3SB first qualified for EUCF, they did not have similar jerseys, and they needed to really quickly order jerseys that are totally similar, because obviously that's one of the EUCF rules. So they just quickly did something, which was this, and it worked out so well for them. It's so pretty, and I really love it.
Well, I'll tell you what worked out well, that defensive look. It seemed like the Heidelbärchen, they heard us talking about the jerseys and threw to someone wearing one. Oh, but that's such a shame. A little stumble into the end zone and unable to come up with the goods. And yeah, unsurprising to see an injury call. That looked like a nasty little sort of half stumble, maybe tripped over her own toes. Such a shame, because that looked like a money pass up until that point.
Looked like a great pass, and maybe not used to having such great grass fields.
It's definitely a thing in Ultimate, the inconsistent quality of fields, but these are lovely, lovely trimmed grass, flat pitches, such an expansive land.
Over such a huge area, all of these pitches have the same good quality, which is very amazing.
Oh, and again we see two Heidelbärchen players trying to redeem the same disc. Friendly fire, and off comes Mona Schuck.
30 shirt, I believe she was, ooh, she's getting feet right on the head there. Oh no, hope she's gonna be fine, but this is the exact same player that the first collision happened to.
Yeah, indeed, and also trying to redeem an errant pass. Perhaps a little bit of communication required between Heidelbärchen's own roster. But keeping themselves within this one. 3SB still trying to stretch their lead back to 3. On the disc. Looking a little bit static. Stromova. Nice working along that far hand. The set has the reset around, but chooses the little small gainer. Oh, and that's a lovely flat release point to Rita Ticha with the throw for the score.
Was that a high release back flick we saw there?
Indeed, and it's flat and smooth. It's like a waiter delivering pizza.
Beautiful. I love myself a cheeky high release throw.
You like every single cheeky throw in the entire tool set.
You got me there.
Including with the offhand.
Oh, I love the offhand. That's next level.
I feel like that's the most emotional you've been in this entire game. The emotion of, I love the offhand throw. Love it. Well, we haven't seen that many in this game. I tell you who...
We've seen one.
No, but I tell you who has been throwing a lot of offhands. If you watch the Dublin Gravity side, they are all about the ambidextrous throwing. Although it's been fun watching Sela Toshnelova exchanging hands that would have been holding the disc. I don't think we've seen her commit to throwing the offhand at any point, as far as I can tell. But we've seen some people, some threats of it in this game. The good kind
that
of
is
threat,
all
obviously.
you need. If you know that you have to watch another throw, an offhand, then you know that's great fear.
great fear. It's all about the great fear.
No, honestly, if I know a player can throw an offhand, backhand,
it does make you more of a threat. It's a bit like being good at going deep and good at lodging it deep. You know, you can play both sides. If you can play both hands, which players who injure themselves end up normally doing that. Shout out actually to the revenge of the claw at this tournament from the lovely Rachel Elizabeth of Smog. Rachel Turton.
Turton, right? I saw her play. Looked pretty good. Looked fine.
But focusing on the one at hand, can Heidelbergen punch this one in? They really need it. Oh no, they punch it straight into the back of Adela Dobiasova.
Great piece of defense.
And she's been really useful in the last stages of this game, but up goes Heidelbergen. And so Manhertz surveying the options in front. And 3SB, I was about to say they looked a little bit more static than they had in their zone, but as soon as I think the thought through they come, and what a play from Schwarzova.
Yeah, that's the best way to play defense. If your offensive player doesn't even know you're there, thinks you're sleeping a bit. Oh, and Thyssen with another defense. Yeah, the third one she popped out there.
Well, she's a useful person to have in the deep field with all these slightly looser throws as we reach the latter stages of this game. This is game number 3 of the day for the Heidelbergen. Number 2 for 3SB, who will be facing up another opponent before the day is through. Thyssen. That's a nice swing pass to the near side. Giving and going, churning up some yards. Manhertz. Cross to Thyssen. Oh, and that's a lovely floaty put that's going to be snaffled up far side by Perin Moore.
And the Heidelberg again had to work a lot to get that goal in. They had maybe 3 turnovers or something. And that goal did not come easy, and they worked hard, and you could see in the end they did look very composed on their last possession, but took them quite a while. And always getting to their end zone, I believe, and just in front of their end zone, not keeping the chills.
So 12-10 the score, and there's a timeout called, not sure whom by.
I believe it's the Heidelbärchen who just called that timeout.
Well, an opportunity to perhaps gain a little bit of a rest. They have just scored on their opponents, but maybe now is the part where they really just recompose themselves and say, hey, look, ladies, look, teammates, look, fellow athletes. Let's put our heads back on. We've got a 2-0 record thus far, and see if we can make it 3 and cement ourselves in this pool.
From what I've seen from the Heidelberg side is that at the end of a game they can always give a little more as well. So the late stage of the game is where they show the depth of the roster and all of their players being part of their lines and their game. As I've heard that they have a great mixture of very talented players and also some players that are here to gather experience, and from what I've seen they're just running through their lines normally. They haven't called any crunch lines or anything, but they just let everyone play and gain their experience.
The typical German discipline, although I wouldn't necessarily say it's been twinned with the typical German efficiency during this game. If anything, the very early stages, the Heidelbergen were particularly inefficient after starting the game wonderfully strong. Suddenly 3SB looked to have the upper hand. They still retain it. They're 12-10 up, are the players in pink, with their rather fetching pink flamingos.
But we've seen both teams holding for a couple of points as Carole just never launches it deep and it's going to be deflected.
Well, I tell you what, that little timeout break seems to have generated lots of energy for Heidelbergen as Breitzman chases that one down with great effect. Nice, just opening up those hips. True speed. And can they convert? A clean conversion for the D-line of the Heidelbergen would certainly generate a lot of energy here, which is what they need as this game starts to perhaps drag on them, having already played one more than 3SB. Not an unusual situation to be playing against an opponent who's had fewer than you. But is that a hand block fair and square for Rachel Toshnerova?
I don't think it's fair and square since they're talking about it. And we have seen a lot of discussions about hand blocks and marking.
We certainly have. I think it's it can still be fair and square and be spoken about. Oh yeah, that one seemed a. Well, you're signalling to me, Christina, that you think that's a turnover, but actually, I think that one is less ambiguous than the previous one on Gordillo.
I don't know. It's always hard because.
But it's a Callahan! Oh my goodness. Well, we can say what we want about the previous call, but that is the energy injection, but the wrong way round as Callahan off the arms of Heidelbärchen. And that's just a great chase down.
I believe that was deflected by one of the ESB play, and then the other one just ran it down and caught it. What a team effort to get that block, as we can see there, right there. Dvořáková with the deflection, and then Svezhinova with the goal.
Yeah, so it's getting another look at this. It's again, we see 2 3SB players extraordinarily close to the player with the disc without much white shirted action in the area. Perhaps I missed it on the first replay from the wide angle, but not sure how I feel about the positioning of the players around the disc at this stage. But ultimately, it is the responsibility of Heidelbärchen to be calling these things. So we can sit pretty in our perch in our little ivory tower and say what we like. But it's getting blocks, and that's the important thing. Oh, as we see Manhattan play a little bit of football in the middle of the field, and it'll be brought back. But unsurprising to see the Heidelbärchen putting some of their taller players downfield. I say that Manhattan has now come back into the handler spot with 3SB returning to this zone look.
Great work through that cup there, and Charlotte Schall with the disc now. Apparently she was playing for the open division at German Nationals. As the disc goes a little too far out in front.
Oh, you can see Phillips there thinking about launching. There's a little moment you can see where it flashes through her mind to launch herself at the floor and the disc. Preferably the disc before the floor.
Yeah, but the moment you think about it, it's too late already. That's what I've got from myself. As soon as I think, oh, I should lay out for this, it's going to be too late.
I'm not sure it's just you that says that. It's definitely a common theme in Ultimate. As you see 3SB flooding through after a relatively short huck, but nicely opens up the space. Good connections now flowing towards the end zone. Oh, and that is a beauty of a throw. Just about manages to get past the defender. You can't but help but imagine if she'd perhaps also exploded out, it might have been a different story for the Heidelbärchen. But now we are at game point after nearly 85 minutes have expired. 5 left of regulation time, but it is a game to 15. But might we see a magnificent comeback? We know that the Heidelbärchen have the talent, but do they have the energy, Christina?
I wouldn't say no. I would never jinx that. They don't have the energy because I feel like they've turned it around before today. I feel like they can do it again. But maybe now at the end of this game, at the end of this day, you can see that they've played another 90-minute game, and 3SB hasn't yet.
Do we know, have we figured out who the 3SB are playing next, Christina?
So I think it's going to be Cosmic Girls. They're up against them tomorrow morning at 10.
So perhaps a slightly easier day today for 3SB.
I'm
just the
pretty
2
sure.
games. So brutal if you are a Heidelbärchen player out here on the field for 3. But of course, they will then have a slightly lighter one tomorrow by virtue of playing the 3 today.
They will play Iceni tomorrow, Heidelbärchen, which is not quite an easy matchup, in my opinion.
Oh no, well, that's the thing. There's so much parity in this women's division. It's more the fact that they'll have a bit more energy perhaps in their legs for their matchup against the Cosmic Girls tomorrow.
Oh, great grab there by Charles.
And then Jacques distributing backwards. But this is great patience from the Heidelberg. Oh, a zipper through and sets it up, casually tosses the disc and turns away to celebrate with her teammates. That's a lovely piece of offense from the Heidelberg. They chip one off the lead. But 3SB, can they finish this one off with their O-line? Be unsurprised to see two Toshnerova sisters striding towards the left end zone to try and close this one out.
Their O-line has been so good so far. So I think they can close it out, but of course I want a bit of a spicy game at the end now, and I wouldn't be surprised if Heidelberg had put up a great D line to go with that O and try to get a break off.
I feel like this game has been slightly dampened in terms of energy and stakes. We saw some really nice fast breaks out of 3SB, which gave them that lead in the early stages of the game, but there's been so much zone played and so many kind of just strange, weird errors that haven't really necessarily been defensive blocks as much as it's just been the team giving it away to the opposition. But let's see what 3SB have in store for us. Is it going to be perhaps another big huck from one of their handler set? Or are they just going to grind it through? Nice central field position.
Either way, I think they're going to work hard to get that goal.
And pick call upfield as we see Toshnerova coming in with acres of room, many, many yards. And I don't know if our mics picked that one up, but Tom Stiles is making fun of us from behind. Is that right?
Oh, I think he's criticizing our Czech pronunciation there.
Cheeky. Bit of inter-commentator banter out on the field. Osaratiova finds her teammate upfield. Vorakova, who's been doing a wonderful job all game long, getting blocks and being so capable on offense.
There's so many bodies beneath that disc, and
oh, it goes up high, it sits, it hangs, it has bodies underneath, but that is game for 3SB. They finish it off 15-11, and that is a bit like how it was. We complimented the strange throwing choice of that one that swirled for Heidelbärchen in a similar spot. That is a risky biscuit, but what a stylish flourish to finish it off.
What a way to finish that game. And I think it kind of symbolized all that we saw here the whole game. It was just a bit of luck here and there, and in the end just a cheeky pass for the score and for the win on the 3SB side.
Well, they put in all of the hard work, did 3SB, throughout that game, and took advantage of the fact that they were just one fresher than their opponents. They just brutalized the Heidelbärchen a couple times, and just as soon as it got maybe a little bit sloppy, they just kind of put their heads together and just thought, actually, no, you know what, we're just gonna put something up that's a bit hot, a bit fast, but they had the legs to get under them. So a commendable performance from 3SB to give Heidelberg their first taste of defeat here at the European Ultimate Championship Finals. It's been a pleasure to bring you this women's pool play match, but stay tuned because you'll see just at the bottom of your screen there, you've got Free Speed from Switzerland facing up against the gents who might have a home field advantage here. The CUSB development team, the young, the feisty Red Bulls. That's going to be a heck of a match to watch, I am certain. So keep your eyes glued to the screen for the final matchup of today's streaming activity. On the other field, I'm sure you've probably already been persuaded to purchase a FanTube subscription this deep into the season. You'll have Gut from the Netherlands versus the Salaspils of Latvia. I've been Hannah Pendlebury for Christina Obermeyer and the Ulti.tv crew. It's been a pleasure to bring you this match, but stay tuned for more action from the men's division next.